to our listeners. I got caught up in a little bit of road construction delays on Lucy Garrett Road. The DOT workers have been down there and they have replaced the culvert up under Lucy Garrett Road, and they're kind of getting it ready to do some paving and things, I guess. And so I got caught up in that, and my apologies for being tardy on the Gardeners Corner program that is brought to you today by T.G. Brooks Company and San Lean Golf Cars. Our special guest today is Mr. Paul Westfall. Paul serves as the Director for Person and Granville Counties for the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service. Their motto is empowering people, providing solutions. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Rob. And this just goes to show this is a full-service radio program or TV program, however you want to. Where else can you get a gardening information, livestock information, horse information, and a traffic report?
Good point.
Yeah.
Paul was telling me that he was kind of cutting it close to be here on time, in which he did make it on time, but unfortunately, I was behind time. But anyway, little things happen like that, and I'm guilty of sometimes not allowing enough time in my travel plans for any such delay as something as I, endured a little while ago. But nevertheless, we are live in the studio today, and we're going to be talking about old man winter and cold weather. And
one last gasp.
Yes, we've been very fortunate that we have not had a harsh winter. I know we had some snow back early part of January, and we had some really cold temperatures, to come in after the snow. But for the most part, we've had what seems to be a reasonably mild winter.
Well, how many Februarys do we have where we're running around in T-shirts and shorts?
That's right, yes.
Or, 70-plus degree weather in mid-February is just almost unheard of. I did mention it last time we were on the program that I did see some information that said this is about the third warmest February we've had on record, but it's been a long time since it was this warm in February. But unfortunately, or as we predicted last week, winter's still not through. March is a very variable month weather-wise, and I think we're starting to experience that these next few nights at least. So the warnings we put out last week to not get too early a jump on your gardens, planting some tender transplants or tomato plants or anything like that, to stay with some cooler weather crops if you do need to get out and garden right away. We're going to end up the next few nights feeling some below freezing temperatures, and that's the danger this time of year.
Yeah, I think we had a morning low here at the radio station about 5:30 this morning of 28 degrees, and I also think that was the morning low at the Person County Airport. And the weather reports that we had yesterday for last night, it wasn't predicting that it would get, as cold last night as it did. And the weather report, indicated that tonight would be colder than last night. So, the following.
Saturday night's supposed to be another cold night. So we got at least 3 or 4 nights that are going to be below freezing for a significant amount of time, and that's what's going to hurt our crops, our gardens that we put in, but most of all, the fruit crops are what I'm worried
about. That's right. That's exactly right. And if it's to where all the trees lose the blossoms and things, we're kind of lost out on our fruit crops this year. And it's so many people, maybe not necessarily in this area, depend on them for their livelihoods, as it is a lot of places. But I know everybody that has fruit trees, they enjoy the harvest you
Certainly.
know, for themselves, and it may be some people. And, you know, the strawberry farmers, I guess, are a little bit maybe,
They're in a
well,
tight spot right now, I believe.
they are, but I think they are kind of maybe more so prepared
Right.
for, you know, maybe handling
Well,
a little bit of cold weather, you know. But now, if it gets down extremely cold, and I actually seen a report on one of the local news channels this week, and they was talking with someone, and they was asking about ways that, you know, growers could, you know, help these, you
right.
know, frigid temperatures. And it was one means that I had never heard of. They say that if you have wind making machines,
Right.
that you can produce enough, you know, airflow that will help
That
protect the plants.
that does help when it's just, a couple of degrees below freezing. I know in some states, I've seen them in Arizona and some other states. They do have these large, fans, if you will. They look kind of like these large electric turbines, but they're just, large fans, two blades. They turn them on to just keep the air flowing over the plants, over the trees, and that does help prevent blossoms from freezing. What most of our strawberry growers do is cover the plants either with a tarp or some type of a cloth cover to keep frost physically off the plants, and then that does help trap just a little bit of heat under there.
Right.
And, sometimes Johnny Cole and our horticulturist and I were talking, and sometimes it's 1 or 2 degrees makes a huge difference, and sometimes like an hour or two at night makes a huge difference as to when it does dip below that critical freezing mark or get down into the high 20s or mid 20s. If it gets down to low 20s, there's not a whole lot we can do anyway.
Yeah.
Some growers have an irrigation system set up, and they will actually sprinkle, have water their crop from the top and allow that ice to freeze on the leaves and buds, so that the ice actually protects it from the cold weather and frost. I'm not sure exactly of all that mechanism. I'm sure there are some experts at NC State or even Johnny Coley can tell you all the ins and outs of how that actually protects the plant, but that's another common practice that a lot of folks do.
Yeah.
But back to our strawberry growers, another issue is that because the strawberries have bloomed so early, the ones that are in it commercially are going to have trouble getting enough labor to pick, because a lot of times they depend on documented migrant labor to come and pick. So they've worked through the North Carolina Growers Association to make sure that all the paperwork is done and everything is done according to the law to make sure we can get enough labor in here to pick the strawberries. Well, they have to estimate when that time is going to be that the strawberries will be ready to harvest. So that's when they put on their contract to have them here by the normal strawberry time in, say, mid-April or so. Well, we're blooming 2 or 3 weeks early.
Yeah.
That means the fruit's going to be ready 2 or 3 weeks early if we survive this little cold spell. So we've had to write some letters to some growers saying, hey, you're going to need some labor, and the Growers Association is doing all they can do to try to get those contracts amended so they can get the labor in here on time too. So hopefully, as long as we have the strawberries from the pick, that hopefully that'll all work out. So that's an unanticipated problem for a lot of us.
That's right. It sure is. And Paul, you bring up a good point about it's tough enough for these growers and producers to deal with the day-to-day task at hand, and when you factor in the normal dealings with Mother Nature, and then when you throw in a little cold snap when you really don't need it, that really causes a lot of sleepless nights.
It can really turn things upside down all of a sudden.
It sure does. But Paul, one thing that I guess maybe we should say, for a lot of people that have ornamental, trees and plants, if you can protect them maybe if you have some old bed linens
Right.
that you could cover them up with, this afternoon, that would help. But if it's some plants that you just can't, protect or anything, if you do have some frostbite damage, uh, don't get completely stretched out about it, and let's wait and see what it holds for the next few weeks.
Right.
And I know it has been times to where you could go out and prune off, the damaged part.
If necessary.
Yeah.
Sometimes, ornamental plants in particular will go ahead and shed those leaves or shed those blooms. You may not get the blooms back, but usually the leaves will come back,
Yeah.
and they're pretty tough. They can survive quite a lot on this.
Well,
and the ornamentals are there for beauty anyway.
yeah.
So.
But a couple of years back, we had some pretty cold weather, and we thought that it had pretty much wiped out our fig bushes.
Uh-oh.
And so we went ahead and just cut them down and pretty much done away with them. And we pretty much done the wrong thing, because if we would have just left them, they would have came back out. And and the reason that I say, my sister has some in her yard, right there next to us, and they didn't do anything to theirs, and guess what? Theirs came
pigs,
back.
huh?
Yeah. And so just sometimes don't be too hasty about trying to correct a problem that in the end it may correct itself.
Right.
And anyway, it's just one of those things.
And like if people have gone ahead and planted their corn in the garden, you don't transfer sets on that. If the corn had come up and there was couple leaves showing, and the frost knocks those 2 leaves down, wait. Don't dig it up and replant just yet, because as long as the growing point in corn is still below that soil line, you should be okay, unless it's a really hard freeze and freezes the ground, pretty deep. But plants like corn, do have a growing point that's below the soil the soil line for a certain time, and you'll see 2 or 3 leaves popping up, right after the plant germinates, and they come up above the soil, and then you get that lead leaf coming up, and then there's another one that unfolds. The growing point is actually still below the soil line at that point, at that time. Once you get 4 or 5 leaves, the growing point is up out in the sun, and the plant's really taking off and growing fast at that point. But some of our crops can recover, but like tomato sets and very tender things like that are normally full summertime plants, that's the ones that we really caution people about planting too early.
Yeah, and I'm sure some people is ready to start maybe some vegetable plants inside.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that's fine. And but just one thing you should always bear in mind: no matter what the weather may be, you need to keep in mind of the time of the year that it is. And February turned out to be a pretty dry month.
Yep.
We did have a little bit of rain back on Wednesday night, and we had some storms to come through the area, and in which we were in need of some rain.
We needed the water, yes.
We sure did. So, but again, just try not to worry yourself over things, which I know it's a lot of strawberry growers, in the area that depend on that money for livelihood. But most of them, I'm sure, has little plans and things in store that they can do. But we want to wish them the best of the luck. And I know a lot of people has beautiful flowers in the landscape, and I hope you don't lose your pretty flowers due to the cold weather. But if you do, don't take it personal. It's just one of those things that happens.
Well, there's been some ornamental pears blooming out real big. They're real pretty white trees, and then I know I've got some flowering quince in my backyard. It's been blooming out real nicely, and a few other things. Camellias have been beautiful this year. So
They sure have.
I do have those in my yard at home too. But I'm learning about these kind of things, I guess. So, there's something else we need to mention, Rob, is on next week on March 8th, we're going to switch gears and talk about horses for a minute.
Yeah.
March 8th, anybody that owns or leases a horse should come by the Cooperative Extension Office there at 304 South Morgan Street. Come to room 121 and cast your ballot in the horse referendum. This is a referendum to determine if they're going to continue a checkoff on horse feed and raise money for the North Carolina Horse Council to do all their programs and education and support research in the equine industry. So polls will be open there at the Extension Center. Start at 8:30 in the morning. We'll run through 5 o'clock. And how many election or votes do you know of, Rob, that will allow 9-year-olds to vote?
This is about the only one that I'm aware of.
Right. Horse owners, or people who lease a horse, age 9 and up, can vote in this referendum. Now, you're right. That's pretty unusual.
Yeah.
But the youth programs in the horse industry are phenomenal. People learn to ride, take care of horses, and with the number of youth that own and ride horses, I figure that's an important audience to be sure and get their opinion on this too. And horse feed industry is pretty large.
It sure is. But again, you can cast your vote on Wednesday, March 8th at the Person County Cooperative Extension Center, and it's located 304 South Morgan Street. All right, we're going to get a word on for T.G. Brooks Company, in business since 1936, and we'll be back with more of the Gardener's Corner program with Mr. Paul Westfall of the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service.
Here's a March 2017 message from T.G. Brooks Company as we head into springtime. T.G. Brooks Company in Timberlake reminds everyone that you still have time for a weed-free, healthy lawn by applying pre-emergent weed control, both granular or with slow-release fertilizer. This will provide up to 8 months of weed control on lawn weeds that make your lawn hard to manage. Transform your lackluster lawn into a lush and beautiful landscape. They have plenty of fertilizer, lime, and weed control to get you off to a proper spring start. And so that you have the prettiest lawn and be the envy of the neighborhood, they have hardwood and dyed mulches by the scoop and pine mulch by the bag. They have all of the most popular lawn and garden chemicals like insecticides, herbicides, and they have plenty of your soils like topsoil, bulk planting soil, potting soil, cow manure, and they have pine needles. They have for sale or rent spreaders, power pluggers, and plenty of tools to do the work, plus nice wheelbarrows, and to further beautify, they have stepping stones and wall stones. Plenty of friendly advice, too. Speaking of gardens, they now have for you onion sets, seed potatoes, and soon broccoli and cabbage. When it comes to your home or property, whether you are a homeowner or a commercial landscaper, T.G. Brooks Company serves everybody. Remember to finish your workday with delicious hand-cut ribeye steak at T.G. Brooks Company. They do it every day, serving you since 1936. Phone 364-2428 anytime.
Sandling Golf Cars is a place you can find club car and easy-go golf cars. They have new and pre-owned golf cars. If you're wanting a gasoline, electric, basic to fully customized golf car, see Al, Hillary, and Will at Sandling Golf Cars, where financing is available. Sandling Golf Cars is open for business 8 until 5:30 weekdays, 9 until 1 on Saturday. Sandling Golf Cars is located 613 Lewis Street in Oxford. Call 919-693-4626, toll free 1-800-221-9267. Visit the website sandlinggolfcars.com. Are you in need of repairs, parts, or service for your golf car? Maybe you need a new set of Trojan batteries. See Bradley and Dennis at Sandling Golf Cars. Also, they have the XRTs by Club Car. These units are powered by a gasoline or diesel engine. These rugged, durable, and dependable machines strong enough to handle anything around the farm, home, or lake. Something brand new at Sandling Golf Cars. They have in stock the Wilmington Fire Pit Grill. You've heard us talk about the Wilmington grills available at Sandling Golf Cars. You need to get you one of these Wilmington Fire Pit grills. You can have it personalized just about any way you like, and you can use it as a fire pit and or a grill. Stop in and see them at Sandling Golf Cars. They have a huge selection of utility trailers, tow dollies, dump trailers, equipment trailers, stock trailers, and they also have enclosed trailers up to 24 foot. Call 919-693-4626 or toll free 1-800-221-9267. Better yet, stop in and see the friendly folks at Sandling Golf Cars, 613 Lewis Street in Oxford, for all of your golf cars, Wilmington Fire Pit grills, utility trailers, and more. That's Sandling Golf Cars, 613 Lewis Street in Oxford.
If you happen to be at the Dixie Deer Classic in Raleigh this afternoon or tomorrow or Sunday, be sure to stop in and see Sandling Golf Cars. They're there on the inside, and they also are set up on outside. So it's the Dixie Deer Classic going on today through Sunday at the State Fairgrounds in Raleigh. All righty, here we are back on the Gardener's Corner program. Mr. Paul Westfall, the director for Person and Granville counties of the Cooperative Extension Service. We was talking about the horse referendum, or equine referendum, I should say. This upcoming Wednesday, March 8th, is your opportunity to let your voice be heard in the form of voting. Anyone 9 years of age and older that is the owner of an equine is eligible to vote. And Paul, you were saying something about absentee ballots?
Yes, people have asked about, I won't be available that day, can I vote any other ways? Yes, there is a provision for absentee ballots. You can call the office or come by the Extension Center and get an absentee ballot to cast your vote to do that. They will need to be gotten back to the office by the 8th of March, which is next week. But we do have a provision for that. We have had some inquiries about the absentee ballots, Rob. And so I just want to make sure people were aware that that is an option if they couldn't actually come to the office on the 8th and vote in person. So there's that. And you're right, it is equine, not just horses. That includes horses, mules, donkeys, hennies, it might even include a zebra too. I don't know. That's an equine of sorts. So so if you've got any of those type of animals, and you don't have to own them, if you lease them, from somebody and are principal caretaker for them, you're qualified to vote in this. And again, the funds raised go to the North Carolina Horse Council for, equine research, for equine marketing, for all the efforts that they do to support the equine industry here in North Carolina.
Paul, I know this past Saturday, you all had a Coggins and vaccinations clinic.
We did.
For horses and other equine animals. Do you have any other schedule that you all are sponsoring?
We don't have any more scheduled, Rob, but usually the veterinarians, if you call them, you can call ahead to ask about this, and I won't promise that they'll do this, but in years past, they have, if you've been within the first, close to the end of February, early March, if you call them and go by the clinic, bring your horses to their clinics, either Flat River, or we also work with Large Animal Vet Services out of Youngsville. They will do they'll do the Coggins test at the same cost.
Right, that's right.
But that's a way of avoiding the trip fee. If you just got one or two horses, sometimes it's less expensive to haul them to the vet service than it is to have the vet come out to the farm.
That's right. I do happen to know a friend of mine is putting on a Coggins clinic tomorrow down in Granville County at at down close to the Cornwall Volunteer Fire
Okay.
Department at Mountain Creek Farm. That'll be going on tomorrow morning, and I'm not sure the exact hours, but anyway, if you get there before lunch, you'll be okay. But that'll be going on, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people in that area. If they have not had their coggins pulled on the horses, they will certainly want to be sure to do that, because coming up 2 weeks from tomorrow on the 18th is going to be the Cornwall Trail Ride, and that's a fundraiser for the Volunteer Fire Department.
Right, and that's a big trail ride
It
every
really
year too,
is.
yeah.
It is
A lot
a
of
big
people
deal. A lot of
participate.
people participate, and it's open to horse riders and wagons. So, again, if you are a responsible owner of your horses and other related equine, you want to do your best to try to keep them healthy, because they are an investment. Sometimes people invest in them to hopefully have that investment paid back to them. A lot of times with horses, not so much the case as the enjoyment. And if you've got them, and if you look after them, and they live a healthy life, that's payback enough in itself right there.
Certainly is.
But anyway, again, we had started talking about, the cold weather that came in last night, and it's going to be cold tonight and tomorrow night. And I think once we make it through Sunday night, it's supposed to warm back up. But just bear this in mind. Here it is, the 1st of March, and in the Piedmont area, we have a 50% chance of frost all the way up to April 15th.
That's
So,
true,
Paul,
yeah.
that's a month and a half away.
It's
So
still a good ways out. April 5th, I think, is the average last frost date over in Granville County. It may be a little bit later here in Person County. There's a little bit of elevation difference and all that. And I don't know, for some reason, when it's threatening bad weather, the Raleigh TV stations always send the reporters to Roxborough for some reason. They think it's going to snow or something. But anyway, hopefully we won't get any more of the snowflakes falling, but and hopefully we won't have too many more nights where we have a lot of below freezing weather. But good point. Our average last frost date is somewhere in early April, so it can be 2 weeks ahead, 2 weeks behind. People talk that they've seen frost in the month of May, actually, but usually if you wait till early to mid-April to get your more tender garden plants planted, you should be good on that then.
Well, I know a lot of the tobacco growers will like to start planting their tobacco crops, say in late April, and they'll be planting on into the month of May. And I know I talked to one tobacco grower last year, and they were saying, Rob, it's like we're fighting the cold weather planting the crop, and said we're going to be fighting the cold weather harvesting the crop.
That's right.
Which I don't think it was quite as bad, harvesting, this past crop, but I know the year before that,
we had a lot of frosted tobacco 2 years ago.
We sure did. And anyway, so it's just one of those things, and the weather is unpredictable, and I guess in a sense that's maybe a good thing, because it kind of maybe keeps you on your toes. And I know that all of these weather reporters and the National Weather Service, they do their best to give you an outlook. And a lot of people complain about the weather people not getting the weather report, but from what I've been told, the weather can change within a matter of just a few hours.
Yeah, this is North Carolina. We do get variations in weather. The most accurate weather forecasters are those that live out in the desert.
That's right.
Or up on the North Pole or something, or South Pole. But that way they can just say it's going to be cold, folks, or it's going to be hot and dry.
Yeah.
According to where they're at. But it just goes to illustrate that we don't need to go to Las Vegas or up into New Jersey to gamble anything. We can just sit here and plant some crops, and we've got a pretty good wager right out there in the field at that point. So
Yeah, it's a different way of gambling here, it sure is. But if you wanted to go ahead and put out some onion sets and plant your ice potatoes, and it's some cool season vegetables that can tolerate the cooler temperatures. But when you talk about planting, tomatoes and sweet corn and peppers and squash and cucumbers and all these other vegetables,
that's those tender plants we keep talking about. Yeah.
Hold off, at least to the 1st of May, if at all possible. And I know everybody takes great pride into having the first ripe tomatoes, in the neighborhood. And you may be lucky enough to do that, but we've said it a numerous amount of times, and I'll say it again and probably repeat myself over the next few weeks saying it. If you decide to do just that and take a chance and plant early, just bear in mind you need to have a cold weather plan. So
that's right.
And it may be that you may have a heated garage, and you maybe could plant some things in some big containers. And if you've got a hand truck, or maybe you had a little set of dolly wheels that you could set the planters on and let them set outside, and if it's calling for cold weather, roll it inside of the garage and shut the doors,
That'll help. And then, sometimes I've seen people, like cut the bottom off a milk jug and set those over the plant, each individual plant.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different strategies for doing things. But you know what, Rob, there is one thing that this kind of weather is actually benefiting and kicking off to grow real well.
And what is that?
And that's our pasture grasses. If you look at the pastures, if you look at the wheat crop, it's taking off and growing early this year, and that for pastures at least, that's a good thing, because our farmers won't have to feed hay quite as long if they get the grass up and growing. And fescue and orchard grass, those are cool season grasses. They like it to be above freezing and below 85 degrees, so they're going to grow like gangbusters with that. And at our clinics our Coggins clinics over at Southern States in Oxford, we were set up near where they have their scales, and this is the first year we've ever had people come through and get purchasing liquid nitrogen to take back and put on their wheat and small grains crops, and then on their pastures also. So that may be a good thing of this weather that we experienced lately, is that our pasture grasses are starting to grow early, and they're growing pretty fast right now.
Well, they have talked about, a hay shortage and things like that. And I'm sure that this, warmer weather has put a smile on a lot of cattle and horse owners' faces, and also people that maybe raise goats and sheep. And, the choice given between, green grass and hay, cattle and horses, they're going to eat the green grass.
Yeah, they're going to eat the green grass, and right now, early on, of course, it's high moisture content. There's lush green grass, got a lot of water, a lot of moisture in it. So a little bit of hay to kind of slow things down going through the digestive tract might be good, but certainly the grass will help extend the hay reserves that we still have. And I know a lot of people are out looking to find some hay, because they did run short. We didn't have a real good fall crop, so that is a concern. But perhaps that might be one of the blessings of this weather that we had, is getting our pastures growing earlier in the spring than they normally would.
Well, Paul, when you talk about lush green pastures, what happens to cattle sometimes when they eat the lush green grass? It's some type of supplement that you need to have available for them. Is that correct?
Well, we recommend in the springtime that if you got livestock, particularly cattle, sheep, goats, things like that, you need to have a good mineral mix out available to them, free choice, or you can mix it in a supplement, but it needs to be high in magnesium. that would prevent, what we call a nutritional disease we call grass tetany. You know, this lush green grass, it will go right through them real fast, but they need that extra magnesium to help the nutrients pass through the stomach walls and get into the bloodstream and do what they're supposed to do within the animal's body. But we want to avoid getting grass tetany. They'll get the staggers. They'll you know, be sick. They usually, you know, if we can get to them in time, it's not a real bad problem, but we don't want to, you know, have to experience that if at all possible. So having a high magnesium mineral out available to the animals, they know what they need. They'll go and lick the mineral and get what they need. Of course, you know, there's a pecking order in every cow herd there is. So the boss cow probably gets the most, but as long as they're out there available, and each animal should be able to get enough of that self-choice or free choice mineral and be able to graze and not have to worry about getting the grass tetany.
Right. Well, so you know, if you do have cows, sheep, or goats, you may want to go to your local feed store and tell them that you would like to, you know, get some mineral. Maybe you could get it in a granulated form, or even, you know, a salt lick type.
A block. Yeah.
But and that way, you know, you again, you know, if you've got an investment, you know, it comes down to where an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of a cure.
How many times have we seen that old adage?
Oh yes, it really is. And also, if you do have cattle, you need to get on a good vaccination program, because you want to have good herd health. And as we have talked about in the past, you know, if you are a cattle producer, now you may just be raising the cattle for beef, but you know, if you got a good line of cattle, you know, you're going to have other cattle producers that is maybe interested in your stock. And when you can prove to them that you have a really good vaccination regimen, you know what that does? That makes the price of your cattle worth a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so it can go a long way. And, you know, when people are ready to make investments, you know, most of them don't mind spending a little bit more money when they are getting exactly what they want.
Forget what they want, and believe me, these cattle buyers keep track of who brings, you know, good quality, you know, precondition, we call it, when they got their vaccinations in and everything, and they've been treated according to the recommended guidelines for raising cattle. Believe me, these buyers know which cattle go on to the next stage and start off good without having a little slump, you know, to get used to the new conditions. Or when you mingle cattle, if they're not vaccinated, something, you know, they're going to likely, I won't say going to, but they're more likely to get sick or get a respiratory infection if they're not vaccinated than they are if they are vaccinated against those things.
And you know, that is the thing, you know, that was proven, you know, back at the annual Texas Bull Sale back in December.
Right.
And, you know, it's a lot of people that, you know, seeing bulls for that research test that is, you know, sold at that sale, and there's certain people that, you know, their bulls are in high demand.
That's right.
And so it makes a lot of difference. And, you know, good herd health is something that does not happen overnight. It's something that you have to practice, and you have to, you know, stick true to it. And again, you know, it's a reward that you hope will pay off in the long run. Some cases it doesn't always, but you know, I think the last thing that any animal owner would want to do is look back and say, well, you know, maybe if I would have done this, maybe the end result would have been a little bit better.
Right. Well, you know, we do have you consult with a veterinarian, talk to us. We got recommended vaccination schedules and herd health programs. Veterinarians can certainly provide that advice to their clients. So there's a lot of resources out there for people to make their decisions on herd health and health care. we don't want anybody to skimp on it. There's certain things we say, like blackleg, we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
If you don't vaccinate for anything else, I say vaccinate against that. You give one blackleg shot, you can protect it against 7 diseases, basically, because it's all clostridial diseases. So, contact us, talk to myself or Kim Woods, or if you guys want to talk to your veterinarian about a herd health program, by all means do so. We certainly encourage people to do that. Rob, we've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah, we have. We sure have. And
we've talked about cold weather and gardening, and talked about pastures. We talked about horses with the
That's
referendum,
right.
and
Yeah.
a little bit of horse health care there, trail rides.
That's right.
And
Yeah, it's
and vaccinating cattle. How about that?
That's right. And again, if you have any questions about vaccinations for livestock or horses, you can contact your local veterinarian. And if you have any questions about gardening or anything, in the general area of maybe how to construct your own greenhouse or start your own composting pile,
Oh, yeah.
contact the local extension office in your county, and they'll be glad to provide you with some useful information. They can either send it to you by way of U.S. mail, or they can email it to you, or if you stop in person, they can print out you a publication. But again, the Cooperative Extension Service is there to help you out, and they can help you find solutions to whatever problem you may be dealing with. But again, I apologize for getting in a little bit late today due to road construction problems. But anyway, we covered a lot of ground, and Paul, appreciate you sharing your
absolutely.
knowledge with us
Happy
today.
to be here.
And we want to wish you and yours a happy and safe weekend. And if I'm not badly mistaken, the time will change, not this weekend, but the following weekend. So we're going to be springing
Oh my
forward
goodness.
in just a little bit over a week from now. So that's kind of a little heads up. Thanks to our sponsors, Sandline Golf Cars. Remember, if you're over at the Dixie Dare Classic today through Sunday, stop in and see them. And we also appreciate T.G. Brooks Company for doing what they do. They are small business, but they do a big canvas of covering this county and surrounding area needs. So stop in and see them right there at T.G. Brooks Company. Bill and Roy and staff, we appreciate you all doing what you do, and hopefully we can get out there within the next month or so and do the Gardener's Corner program from T.G. Brooks Company. With that, we'll be at our farewells for today, and wish you and yours a good Friday afternoon and a happy and safe weekend, and thanks for tuning in.